Is this tea hot? I hope it's not too hot. It feels amazing to finally be drinking green tea again, let me tell you. Hustle Believe Receive by Sarah Centrella. It is an 8-step plan to achieve your dreams. A modernized take on the law of attraction, a fellow YouTuber tends to stress the importance of why, in this case, the law of attraction is very heavily reliant on action if you want it to work. Now, before I talk about the contents of this book and what I really admire about it, I want to point out that Sarah Centrella seems like the type of person to have a very thick skin that she has developed through her work. So I'm gonna say what I don't like that much about it first and just get that out of the way. I tried to make my criticisms as constructive as possible. I know many things I say may be of assumption, and that if I disagree with anything regarding this book or her approach, I like to think of it as us all being interested in the same thing. Speaking of which, I'm thinking of coming up with a sort of scale for what I would rate these books I'm reviewing, and a criteria or rubric of why I choose what I choose on that scale for each book as well. But I've thought about doing this in tiers that the standard book sets in terms of presentation, uniqueness, organization, and energy. It's not like 1 out of 10 or anything like that. It's not like 1 out of 5 stars. The tiers are going to be a little bit different. I would probably put this as 1 or 2. That doesn't mean it's a bad book, but it would be 1 or 2 out of 5 because of how basic and popular the concept of this book is. It's hashtag centralized glorification of the externalizations of hard work to achieve long-term results, which makes it even more, I don't know. I'll talk later in the video about my thoughts on the hashtag thing. And there are positive thoughts on that. I feel like people who know my content probably wouldn't think so, but I hate being that asshole reviewer who doesn't seem to get anything or really look for anything to get out of what he digests. The organization, which is, well, there are 8 steps and 51 stories to back them all up, and there's even a story from step 6 about all the shit that went into making this book, which I found interesting and illuminating. The organization of this book is superb. The energy level of the book is high, but other than the organization and a few other things that I loved about this book, which again I'll talk about later in the video, the lack of uniqueness and abundance of focus on manifesting / achieving your dream is just, people have been writing about the same method for the most part, actually in fewer steps for decades now, like Brian Tracy and Grant Cardone and Napoleon Hill, and people have probably been doing it before those guys. This all seems like a little bit of tinkering, what a lot of these authors are kind of just doing nowadays, where they put out a book for the first time and it's about things like this. What separates this from that, however, for the 29th time, I'm going to talk about later in the video. But for now, let's move on to the 8 steps. If you want to know more about each one, feel free to check out the book. There are stories told for each one, explaining how they worked and why and everything else of the like. Step 1 is don't be realistic, but do understand what you want. Each chapter, each step contains the distributions of all these 51 stories. At the end of each story, the people the stories are about, they tell the listener or reader a little bit of pieces of advice. Step 2 is think it. What you think, you basically become. This chapter starts with exercises, and there are a lot of exercises and stuff in this book too. There's so much information you could apply. It's not like this isn't a practical book or anything. Some of which, for example, in this chapter are the exercises of identifying and murdering your negative thoughts as soon as you have them. The greatest advice, in my opinion, that you could give anybody, or better yet, even apply yourself, is given in this chapter. And I loved this one part. This one part stood out. The next day I went to school to tell some friends I thought they would be happy for me, but instead they said stuff like, "How are you gonna pay for it?" I realized then that no matter what you accomplish in life, someone is always gonna steal your joy. Step 3 is say it. After you drink the tea. I fucking hate the taste of green tea. I just drink it for the effect. You gotta teach yourself to enjoy it. I guess I love green tea. According to step 3, which is say it, turn what you want in life into a song. I can't say I haven't done this. I make all the beats in these videos. I'm an entirely self-produced rapper and singer. All my music is on my channel. Find out what it is, say that you will have it. Demand of yourself that you will have it. The author in this chapter talks about her experiences with really saying these things and speaking them into reality. Tony Robbins used to drive to work with the windows down, screaming at the top of his lungs, "I am fucking unstoppable!" And what do you think that did to him? He's a half billionaire now. He has helped feed over 100 million people. He's like, what, almost 60 years old? I saw him last year live, and he was more awake at the end of the seminar than at the beginning. And it was like 7 hours long, which by the way, to him is like not long at all. Step 4 is to write it out. Write everything out very specifically. The top 3% in pretty much any area have clear, written, specific goals, and most of them can list those goals off the top of their heads. The stories themselves are told well. There are many touching moments. However, there are just a lot of them. And the end results, despite all the shit that went into like the success that these people have gone to, they're not that much more impressive than the author presented them to be. Like, maybe I am not that cultured. If that's the case, I will definitely admit that. But I have not heard of anybody told in these stories before listening to the book. There's an entire different side of that coin, which again, I'm gonna talk about later in the video. These people all have visions and they're working their asses off. They're super passionate about what they do and they have achieved a lot of what they want to achieve. But why are their goals as big as they are? Why aren't they bigger? However, my favorite thing about this book is, without question, the invitation for the reader or listener to join these people as they continue their journey. That is just bravo, okay? This is a brilliant thing to do in this day and age. She's like, here, if you want to see for yourself, this person is still grinding it out. Here's the website, here's the Twitter, and everything else. Another reason it's so brilliant, and this is the other side of the coin of what I just talked about, if she's even interviewing these people, because she's just writing a book, no one really knows who this girl is. She's doing what is becoming known in the digital age as
knowledge reporting.
And along with this, the power of influence steps into the creation and distribution of books like this. I can't imagine how many of these people have considerably large followings who, after the release of this book or before, they were like, well, this Sarah Centrella girl interviewed me and she talks about my story in her new book. Have people done this before? Sure, but there are a billion different things to do with it and a billion different ways to do it. Step 5 is see it, and I also admire the simplicity of the steps. This chapter alone has a compelling guide on how to create what's called a future board. And if you don't have one, but you want to completely change the direction your life is going in today, and just do one thing to do that, I totally recommend checking out that chapter and actually doing it. It's really not that hard. I did half of it with my girlfriend yesterday. The other, I mean, we don't have colored ink yet. It should be here tomorrow. But the customization aspect of it should make it even more exciting for you to just not even be bored at all. Step 6 is do it. However, this is the boring part. I remember hearing Mark Zuckerberg say in an interview once, he's like, the actual story is pretty boring, right? I mean, we pretty much just spent 6 years doing a bunch of computer coding. What I find fun is putting the actual energy, the spirit, the feeling of what you're trying to accomplish into what you're doing. If you have the creativity you can get in touch with just after finding what you want and looking at it every day, I say this from experience, you will find a way to make the hustle fun. And that's the reason I don't even like the word hustle. I feel the same way about the word entrepreneur. I feel like it's being used by people all over the place to the point where it's losing its meaning. And where is the me? Where is the you? Why do we all have to be entrepreneurs? Why do we all have to be hustling? There's just something about it. I don't know. Step 7 is believe it. If you know my content, you know I can't go a video or two without mentioning my favorite book ever, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. There's something in that book called auto-suggestion. No one uses the word auto-suggestion in books like this, but it is without question the sole reason why things like this are so effective. Step 8 is live it. And this step talks a lot about maintaining the mentality of the whole hustle, believe, receive after you receive it all, like after you achieved all the shit on your vision board. Let me talk about the hashtags. At first, I was like, this is the most superficial thing ever, and that's really distracting. I think it makes me feel like everything in this book is less important and worth taking seriously than it is. After even a second listen, I do think that without the hashtags, this book would be easier to take more seriously. However, without the hashtags, again, it would be even closer to just being another speak your dreams into existence type of book. At the same time, they're also kind of something I got used to after maybe 3/4 of the way through. Cause then I was like, yes, hashtag manifest that, hashtag change your crew, hashtag change the voices in your head, hashtag future board, hashtag create a movie in your mind. I found myself actually catching on to what each one meant, and I was like, you go, Sarah. Quotes, when you follow your passion, you are your own cheerleader. No one cares if you win or lose but you. I guarantee you that your life is a direct reflection of your words. When you own your dream, you can change how how you think about it. Work hard for what you want, because it won't come to you without a fight. The dream is free. The hustle is sold separately. Always do more than your title would suggest of you. Direction 1. I recommend this book if you are looking for some sort of a method to make a big plan happen. But I also recommend instead checking something out like Maximum Achievement by Brian Tracy, or The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone, or Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. Because again, I don't really see that much that those books don't have that this one does. At least of enough substance that's worth your time, unless you're a big Sarah Centrella fan already, in which case you probably have already checked out this book. And in that case, direction 2. If you like this book, I recommend checking out The Secret by, what's her name? Rhonda Burns? Dive a little bit deeper into the rabbit hole of speaking and breathing things into existence. That, and of course, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Hustle, Believe, Receive by Sarah Centrella. There's a link in the description if you guys want to check it out and read the reviews. That and all the other books that I mentioned in this video. If there are any other books that you guys want me to check out, please let me know in the comments below. And also let me know if you checked out this book and you liked it. But hey, make sure to smash that like button in case you haven't already. For the YouTube algorithm, it helps with SEO and ranking and all this other stuff, and I really appreciate it because so much work goes into making these videos. Make sure to subscribe. I don't know why people watch this far into the video and they don't subscribe. Doesn't make sense to me. Maybe someday it will. If you've subscribed and you want to turn it up a notch and join the notification squad every time I drop a new video, you can get a notification, turn on that notification bell. I would really appreciate that. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.